sit the throne today.
Your Grace.
I will be fine. I will be fine. I said I'm fine.
Come on.
Remember the original Game of Thrones credits? Remember how it would fly over the map to give you a sense of geography and enhance the show you were watching? Yeah? Well, this show was like, nope, we're going with blood culverts emptying into Metal Gears because who doesn't like a bit of pointless and unintelligible trickle-down necronomics?
Are you finally admitting that the opening credits of Game of Thrones were amazing? I'm so glad you're finally saying something logical. Of course, you never admitted that while sending that show, so I've still got to add us in here, but I'm glad you're improving at least.
Also, show's logo promises a three-headed dragon, and I'm starting to doubt we're ever going to see one.
You realize the three-headed dragon is symbolic, right? There was never actually such a thing as a three-headed dragon? Actually, with how ignorant you are about this world, you probably didn't know that.
It's been near 6 years since I last saw my lord husband, Maester.
6 years? 6 years? You have arguably the best ending of the season in the previous episode, and now we're skipping ahead 6 years and not getting into anything that happened right after all that chaos? F the show sometimes, man.
Why do you want to see all the unnecessary events that happened right after faking Sir Laenor's death? I mean, you're the same guy who keeps lying by calling this show boring, and yet you're literally complaining about it not focusing on these unimportant details?
Sea snake is strong.
Calling your grandpa the sea snake instead of grandpa. You didn't put all that work into impregnating your grandmother and then going through 9 months of putting up with her being pregnant for you to show such disrespect.
I was originally just going to say a whole bunch of bullshit here because this sin isn't critical, funny, or satirical, but instead I'm going to point out how calling Lord Corlys the sea snake isn't disrespectful in the slightest, seeing as it's his chosen title. It's quite literally what he wants everyone to know him as.
I am the sea snake's own blood, the closest kin he has left.
Be careful, good brother. None can take your words for treason.
Or one could take his words as completely unimportant, since I'm not even sure the show really knew he existed until now.
Except for the fact that it did, and that we did, because we were paying attention. Oh, you weren't paying attention, were you? That explains a lot.
Giving us so much gratuitous castle porn, I half expect the Downton Abbey theme to start playing.
Everything wrong with House of the Dragon, ladies and gentlemen. A medieval fantasy shows us castles. Also, Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche. The next two sins are just Discount Jeremy pointing things out on the screen and refusing to explain why they're sins, most likely because they're not actually sins.
A king should honor the traditions of his forebears.
Thinking that following Yogi, Baloo, Pooh, and Fozzie will help you be king. There's only one bear we follow in these parts, and his name starts with a P and ends in an Addington.
Discount Jeremy makes 5 pop culture references that aren't sins of the episode cliche.
He means to call into question Luke's legitimacy.
Ah, goody, another episode revolving around political chess, because this show never tackles this subject matter enough. This back and forth of who gets to be king and who gets to be head of this castle or that land is enough to lose your head over.
So he thinks he's being funny with that losing your head joke, but of course it's not actually funny. But regardless, he just complained about this episode focusing on the political scheming of Westeros. You know, the best part of Westeros? Seriously, he's saying that the show is making a mistake by focusing on the intriguing politics rather than skipping all character development and plot and instead showing us a bunch of random people bashing each other's brains in. And this guy calls himself a TV critic. Also, Discount Jeremy incorrectly implies that this show is boring.
He cares only about Driftmark and the Valarian line, not about our politics.
I don't care about them either. So enough of the housing. Can we please move on to the of the dragoning?
And that's your proof for sin number 10. He wants to see a bunch of fighting without any character development or plot. In other words, he's an idiot. Also, he yet again claimed that this show is boring, which is yet again false.
To King's Landing, then.
Cool, we're headed back to King's Landing. Wouldn't want this show to stop feeling cramped and insular, would we?
This show has a smaller scale than Game of Thrones. Because of this, it's set mainly in King's Landing, but there are other settings as well, such as the Stepstones and Driftmark. Regardless, the point is that this show does not feel cramped in the slightest because the audience is already familiar with the world here from watching Game of Thrones and from the other world-building aspects in the show. This next sin was an attempt at a joke where they played the Downton Abbey theme over the establishing shot of the castle. There are two issues with this. First, it wasn't funny. And second, Discount Jeremy makes a pop culture reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
I would say it's nice to be home, but I scarcely recognize it.
Something I find even less exciting than political chess matches is characters complaining about decor. Seriously, guys, if it doesn't get more exciting than this, I might chop my own head off.
And yet another failed attempt at a joke. Anyway, he's complaining about Rhaenyra making a tiny comment because he apparently thinks that takes away from the episode even though it's just part of the introduction to this scene. It's very confusing because it makes no sense. Also, for the third time this video, he incorrectly claimed that this show is boring.
We continue to enjoy improved customs duties since the settling of the Stepstones.
House of the Dragon episode can't exist without mentioning the Stepstones cliche.
And you still don't know what a cliche is.
I trust they've been welcomed as befits their station.
As you instructed, Lord Hound.
One thing these time jumps do is take away any suspense or dramatic pleasure we might have been able to get from past actions that we never saw take place. Yes, we knew the hand from 6 years ago was killed, but we never actually saw the scene stealer from Notting Hill get to take his old position back. Considering how much dramatic weight was given to him having his position taken away, this could have actually been an interesting development to see. But instead, he's already just back in his seat, putting his balls on the table.
Maybe that's because seeing Viserys give him his old position back wasn't dramatic or important in the arc of the story. I mean, you would have just sinned it for being boring, so I don't understand why you're bitching about them not showing it. Also, Discount Jeremy makes a Notting Hill reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.
He can fly a dragon, yes, but can he command a fleet?
Ability does not alter his claim.
This episode is like if Succession focused all of its energy on successions that weren't even the main succession, and was also really boring.
Except for the fact that this show is not boring in the slightest? Why do you feel the need to compulsively lie to your audience? Also, Discount Jeremy makes a pop. You know what? I think you get the point. He's gonna make a whole lot of references in this video that just aren't funny.
Shall we levy a tax on the sale of new wool?
Aw, man! We're leaving the scene right as they're getting into some new wool tax discussion. Damn it! I wanted to hear about that.
This sin is very ironic. He bitches and moans when the show gives us very interesting political conversations, but when it doesn't show less interesting things, he makes an unfunny joke about wanting to see it and gives us it anyway. This shit don't make no sense.
A matter has arisen that requires your attention.
Whatever it is, Sir Eric, you need to wait.
I'm Eric, Your Grace.
Imagine not having subtitles on and being like, oh, you're Eric, not Eric. Got it. I swear this Eric nonsense better lead to some first-rate parent trapping, or for the love of Haley Mills, I will revolt.
And yet another very annoying and not funny pop culture reference.
Who goes there?
Father.
No, you Rhaenyra. He father.
Unfunny joke is unfunny.
And by up, I mean my reclining position will go from approximately 15 degrees to about 20 degrees. But it's really important that the audience understand what bad shape I'm in, so here we are.
Wait, what? Why was any of that a sin? Does he think it's unrealistic that an old man who's dying has a limited range of motion? Or is he saying that it's bad for a TV show to visually communicate information to its audience? Either way, it's a really stupid sin.
Now that is a name fit for a king.
And apparently a grandson/nephew that your daughter is a mother/cousin to.
Okay. And are you going to explain why that's a sin? No? Damn, alright.
I believe you. You do? I do. But what I worry about...
Starting the next sentence after saying I believe you with the word but.
Pointing things out on the screen.
Have you seen Diana? She's supposed to dress the children.
Convenient affected third-party barge in is convenient.
How is this convenient? I'm genuinely curious. I mean, the reason she came in now is because she was specifically looking for the queen and obviously asked people where she was. In other words, none of this is convenient at all. But I guess you think if you just say words, then it automatically makes them true.
Be surprised if he could remember his own name.
To be fair, there's only about 3 names to go around in your family, so I bet he gets there pretty fast.
You realize that common family names are perfectly realistic, right? Seriously, what you just said was that the show is making a mistake for having a realistic detail. Somebody needs to fire whoever keeps writing these awful scripts over at TVSins. Hire someone competent.
Smaller than I remember. It looks exactly the same.
Conversation in every one of my sex tapes?
Discount Jeremy makes a cringy sex tape joke that isn't funny cliche.
Wait, is the Valerian banner a seahorse? And Corlys goes by the name Sea Snake? Is everything and everyone in this house a C word? Wait.
So that entire sin was meant solely for making the unfunny C-word joke that sounds like it was written by a middle schooler after having one too many Pepsis, but the bigger sin is that you pointed out the culture of House Velaryon being centered around the sea and then randomly sinned it. Why is that a sin? This is a world-building detail. I don't know why you're acting like it's a mistake.
Lightning crashes, a new mother cries.
Discount Jeremy tries to sing in a video cliche.
The Song of Ice and Fire, do you believe it to be true?
The first few volumes, sure, but I'm pretty sure the rest is a myth.
Okay, that was actually kind of funny. I am very tempted to add a sin here for it taking 8 f***ing videos for him to make one decent joke, but since I'm in a forgiving mood, I'll take one off.
Also, this is good a time as any to sin this show for not even touching on the more magical aspects that the OG Game of Thrones did so well. That show literally started with an army of frozen dead people, and this show's like, we've got dragons and that's all you're getting.
So the sin is that this show is about different things than Game of Thrones? Why are you complaining that this show is different from that show? What is wrong with you?
Sweet. Of all the things I was hoping this show would take the time to flesh out a bit more, Viserys' backstories were top of that list. Hurrah!
The episode is showing us that Viserys' condition is declining. This is called visual exposition, and it's not a sin because it gives us information in a very natural way.
The Lord of Driftmark and Lord of the Tides.
And rings? Are you the Lord of those too? I only ask because I might all of a sudden get interested in the show again.
And a Lord of the Rings reference. The TVSins method really has become quantity over quality, hasn't it? Also, Discount Jeremy yet again incorrectly implies that this show is boring.
Viserys of House Targaryen!
Now we're talking! Finally, some energy in this episode. Viserys showing up to put people in their place is awesome. But the fact that it took 40 minutes to get here and the most decrepit character in the series to make it happen still deserves this sin.
Discount Jeremy sins something he likes cliche.
Those who have seen your face draw back in fear.
Discount Jeremy tries to sing in a video cliche.
But also, the king sitting on the throne that is essentially responsible for his current conditions seems a little ironic. Or at least Alanis Morissette's version of ironic.
Jesus Christ, yet another pop culture reference. Also, yes, it is ironic, but that's not a sin. Seriously, he just points out random details and then calls them sins without providing an explanation for why those details are sinful. Why is irony a mistake of the episode?
I do not understand why petitions are being heard over a settled succession.
Well, it's this thing called dramatic tension, and the show needed something to occupy itself with instead of fleshing out the backstories and character development of the other main characters while they stall and get to the final 2 episodes. That help?
No, it doesn't help at all, seeing as it's a total misrepresentation of this scene. The show is dealing with the succession of Driftmark, which is one of the most important locations in this world. It's not stalling by focusing on this very important political process.
My house survived the doom.
He's got a good point. That's nothing to sneeze at. That was a really tough game. The Inferno episode was especially tough, but still, bragging will always get you a sin, so.
Yet another pop culture reference.
I will not see it ended on the account of this. Say it.
Matt Smith coming through in the clutch again.
That fake-ass laugh.
The Silent Sisters are attempting to put Vaemon back together again instead of just embracing his new role as a marionette.
Unfunny joke is unfunny.
I think the thing that surprises me most about this scene is it's only the 8th strangest thing I've seen on television this week. To be fair, I did just catch up on season 8 of The Masked Singer, though.
Can you please stop making pop culture references? It's not funny or entertaining, and the only people who claim that it is are either fanboys who are lying to themselves or idiots with a terrible sense of humor. TVSins is pandering to the lowest common denominator with shit like this.
Also, I love that even in a scenario where the body on the table has his chin separated from the rest of his head, they still bother to place a towel over the private parts.
And you're yet again ignoring realistic cultural details. The shaft and balls are sexual body parts, and Westerosi culture is sensitive about that kind of thing. In other words, he's complaining about the show doing something realistic.
This overcandling wall behind Rhaenys is the most overcandled wall to ever overcandle. Might as well be a Christmas display on one of those houses that people with too much time on their hands own.
I'll never understand these candle sins. In this time period, candles are a sign of wealth because the highborn lords and ladies can afford so many. It makes perfect sense that there are a lot of lit candles, but apparently that's a mistake because reasons?
This is an occasion for celebration, it seems.
He says, just a few hours after Person had his head bisected before him as he sat on the throne.
Discount Jeremy points things out on the screen cliche.
Prince Viserys, a future Lord of the Tides.
I'm actually really glad this all worked out this way.
I'm gonna stop you right there before you continue with this boring and unnecessary rant. He essentially makes a joke about Lucerys having a long reign when he ends up dying in the season finale, but the joke isn't funny and there's no actual sin here, so... The next 3 sins are just Discount Jeremy pointing things out on the screen, which is not genuinely critical or funny, so it is a sin.
Also, I do like what the show is doing here. The idea that Viserys could make one final push for unity and it would find purchase in the hearts enough to mend moats is a beautiful idea, and completely insane. These two crossed the line and overturned on their relationship a long time ago, and no amount of one-eyed speechifying is ever going to change it.
Oh man, this sin is funny. He's saying that the show made a mistake for having one of its characters try something that doesn't end up working. Haven't you mentioned Viserys being flawed before? You know it's within his character to make a mistake like this, so why are you sinning it?
We have now reached the portion of the episode where people stand up, and then other people look at the people standing up, and then stay standing up for several seconds as the cameras beg us to feel tension. The only thing I'm wondering is...
It's called characterization, my guy, and you would understand that if you were capable of comprehending even the most basic aspects of storytelling. Also, Discount Jeremy incorrectly implies that this show is boring.
I would like to toast Baela and Rhaena.
Oh, come on. At this point, I'd rather be watching someone make actual toast than sit through another one of these things.
Please refer to the previous sin.
I'll, return on Dragonback.
Get it? It seems like she means in a friendly way, but then it probably won't be. Get it?
Okay, you lost the right to mock things that are only slightly subtle a long time ago when you proved to your audience that you're incapable of understanding the simplest concepts in this show.
Good. We're bringing her back. You know, her. I totally know who she is. I just want to make sure you know who she is. There are too many damn characters to keep up with on this show.
So you're sinning the show for your own stupidity? That's not fair.
Oh, don't you remember Aegon?
Our son.
The prince that was promised.
Prince Aegon.
To unite the realm.
I understand, my king.
And this is why you don't name all your kids George Foreman.
Discount Jeremy makes a George Foreman reference that isn't a sin of the episode cliche.